Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And my name is Bryce Runge. Bryce Runge.
Really? Do we want to, take a vote on that?
Well, I mean, you were like Rod McCall. I forgot that. Do you normally say Rod McCall?
Yeah.
Maybe because I don't listen.
Very entirely. Well, some of my kids have said, well, McCall, you really do have a great voice for radio.
Yeah.
And I said, well, thank you. I said, I've been told for many years that I have a face for radio. And then I said, well, take a listen to the podcast. I said, you get to hear the voice.
Go.
So, which is really exciting. I don't know if you saw, but we had 64 downloads a week ago.
I didn't see that. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean,
that's on the move.
Well, yes. So I guess that means we got to up our game, or I don't know. Maybe we could just push that off for a little while. Should we take a break?
No.
No?
Maybe. We might. Well, yeah, hey, given the fact that I have shingles now.
Oh, yeah. Only old people get shingles, right?
I know.
I mean, first you have a birthday, then you get an old person's disease. Dang. Man,
yeah, I know. I just turned 45 when 13 days ago. Mm-hmm. And now I have shingles.
There you go. See, connection. You get older, you get old people's disease.
I just sat down with one of our advisors to talk about life insurance. So dang.
Well, you know what? Next conversation will be wills with the lawyer.
Yeah, that's something that we did talk about. It's just one of those things. It's not if, it's when. So, and I like to plan. But it's
planning is overrated. Just wait. Put it off.
Just wait till last minute. Yeah, that's smart. Well, growing up, I had parents that I could learn from, and so this is something that it's important that I do because of the lessons that I've learned.
Okay.
Through those examples, and so whether that's good or bad, right? It's a lesson. And so it's either, hey, this is something good to do because, they didn't do this, or because they did this.
Okay, sure.
So it's, just looking at what you think about it. It's like we have a mortgage, right? We have car payment where there's expenses. So, heaven forbid something happens.
Oh, amen.
Then the family and the legacy is protected somewhat, right?
There you go.
And so that's why I'm like, it was kind of weird talking with them about, those things. And I don't know, we need to sit down and discuss the will. And,
that's truly not a good idea to kind of push that off, which is why I'm glad you said that, because I've got an interesting article that I wanted to talk about today.
Okay.
Actually, it's more from a podcast than it is an article.
Ah, okay.
But it's well, all right. So it is.
So we're going to do a podcast on a podcast?
Well, maybe.
Okay.
Well, how about this? I got the inspiration from a lady who does a podcast.
Got it.
All right. Her name is Tiana Luna.
All right.
And she has this podcast, and anyway, she does all kinds of stuff. I mean, she's an author, she's an educator, she's a researcher, but there was something that she had put out that I thought was extremely interesting, and it's titled 3 Ways to Beat Procrastination.
Oh, yeah.
And I will tell you that I'm a good procrastinator. Heck, when I was in college, I once wrote a paper on procrastination about 8 hours before it was due. So, talk about waiting to the last minute. Now, you can do that, I think, sometimes and be successful. Some people say, well, I thrive under stress.
Right.
To an extent, I think maybe you can. But if that's a perpetual way of living, I wonder how many times do you miss stuff or do it halfway when you are waiting to the last minute?
Yeah. I think there are some circumstances because, right, you and I both know that life gets real busy.
Oh yeah.
And you drop the ball or you forget something, and things come up
Yeah.
that put you in a position where it's last minute, and I get that. But what's the old saying? Piss poor, or no, that's not.
Prior planning prevents piss poor performance.
Yes.
6 P's.
Thank you. But I think there are some situations. I've been there. You and I both been there. I'm pretty sure I even shared this in my book. It was about procrastination because I shared the story about never studying, not being intentional or motivated to be academically successful, and then not doing the SATs or whatever, right, and then having that opportunity later on in life through football only to backfire because I put those things off. I didn't do that.
Sure.
And it's so that was that. I don't know that we could call it procrastination, but that was just a straight up, I never did it.
Well, I think it'd be fair to say that we all procrastinate.
Yeah.
If somebody says, "Well, I never procrastinate," I would begin to question, really, ever in your life? Because it's easy to do, and it is so, I don't want to say comfortable, but it's well, I don't want to do it now. Well, I don't want to do it now. Well, here's the thing. It's gonna happen.
Yep.
Whatever you're putting off, you still need to do.
Yeah.
Whether it's weeding, paying, doing taxes on your car, whatever it is, studying for a test or a quiz. Because that is one thing that I have tried real hard as I've gone back to school is to stay ahead, not just on target, but to be ahead. Because there's a lot of reading. When we went to Florida, I was making sure I had everything done. I mean, I had my research paper done, or was started on it the first week of school. And even though it was not due till after we got back, I made sure it was done, proofed, edited, reread, re-edited, so that when we went on vacation, I didn't have to worry about it. And I posted it when we came back, but I didn't have to worry about it.
Right. Yeah. Suzanne will credit me for, pulling things forward just because of those experiences as a procrastinator.
Sure.
And so, if you're not careful, you become, conditioned to this habit of procrastinating.
Yeah. I mean, in this stuff that Tania Luna was saying, 94% of Americans say or admit that they put off tomorrow what they should do today. And when you put it off, you're just delaying the inevitable.
Right.
So I wonder what that does. I mean, they were saying, well, it increases your anxiety. It increases your stress. I'm going, yeah, I can believe that. I don't want to do it, but I know that it's got to get done. And if I don't do it, well, it's, you're making somebody else do what you don't want to do. And that's, like laundry or dishes or yard work.
Right.
It's got to be done.
Right. And
if you've got a partner, well, work with your partner. If you got a team, work with your team and get it done.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no, you're fine. No, I was just thinking if you're on a team and you're a procrastinator, well, that's impacting the team, right?
Yeah.
I guess if you get your stuff done, right? But that may be a different angle. But going back to what you said about, it produces stress and anxiety. There are some that could probably say, like, when I do this last minute, it inspires me. I get fired up to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But in all reality, I'm sure if there was, I'm sure there is a case study done on however many people that procrastinate, I'm sure the result would be I have more anxiety, more stress. I encounter these health issues because of procrastination. And so here's what I believe. I believe procrastination is passive resistance.
Okay.
I
can see that.
It's both delay and denial.
Sure.
I'll put it off until tomorrow, but denial is like what I did. I'll just put it out of my mind completely.
Well, like they say, denial is not just a river in Egypt.
Right.
Well,
that's correct.
Quoting song lyrics there. What's interesting is that in this, this article, this story, they actually say, why do we procrastinate?
Mm-hmm.
And research has shown that it's anywhere from genetics to task aversion to simply emotional avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to be judged. It could be a wide variety of things. So the big question then is, well, what can you do about it? Is there? And I think the answer is yes. And that's what this story was all about, is that yes, there are things that we can do as an individual to overcome our own procrastination.
Yeah.
Now, for me, it was more of lots of crash and burn. But here, so the first thing they say is to be a self-study. All right. That the right fix for procrastination is individualized. Mm-hmm. That nobody's all exactly the same. But they're arguing that kind of start asking yourselves, a variety of questions. For example, when you don't want, like for me, working in the yard. I hate working in the yard. Sherry's very aware that I do not like. She doesn't either. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we've got a house, and if we don't work in the yard, it's who's going to do it? Right. And it's going to we both agree that it's nice to have a nice looking yard. Right. So the question that they say is, well, ask yourself what feelings when you're talking about working in the yard. What feelings does that bring up in you? And I thought, well, if we're talking about yard, it's hot. I'm digging in the dirt. It's, it's one of those things. It's for me, it's kind of like exercise. Yeah. I don't really want to do it. Now, once I'm into it and we're going, let's go. Right. I just don't want to get started. Can we do that tomorrow? That's what we did over the weekend. Yeah. She was working in the yard on Saturday. I said, oh, let's just put it off. She goes out for a little while. And then I said, okay, well, I'll go Sunday. Well, Sunday, the weather didn't cooperate. Mm-hmm. And then I pulled out the chainsaw because I was going to cut up a bunch of limbs so that the garbage man would take them. And lo and behold, if the chain pulls right off and suddenly my chainsaw doesn't work. And I'm going, how am I going to get that back on? It wouldn't. Anyway, so I put it all away and I walked back.
So that's either it's one or two things here. Those are signs you weren't supposed to be doing that on, or it's here's your punishment for putting it off.
Well, and that very well could be. Now, lucky for me, the trash guy bailed me out because they came and they picked up all those limbs, even though I did not cut them to the 2 foot length that they required. Because some were, 4 foot, 4.5, maybe 5 feet in length, but they took them all. So thank you for that, trash people of Plano, Texas.
There you go. Shout out to them.
Yes. But some of the other things they were saying, is, okay, what makes this task meaningful? Not just maybe to me, but also to others benefit from this. All right, if you're working on a group project, whether it's school or at work, or again, even if you're doing yard work at home, that's a group project for Sherry and I. Mm-hmm. So what is it meaningful to them that you get this done? Right. Well, if it's a group project at school or at work, it's grades, it's jobs, So anyway, I just thought it was very interesting because they were saying again, self-study. Look at yourself. Why don't you want to do that event, that activity?
Right.
Is it simply you just, oh, I don't want to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there something a little deeper?
Yeah.
Because if it's deeper than that, maybe we should go sit on the couch and talk about it.
Right. For me, as a previous procrastinator, and I wasn't horrible, but I did. When I do things now, I do it with gratitude. I do it because I've learned the lessons from procrastinating. I've recognized the negative consequences that come with putting things off.
Okay.
The denial and the delay and doing that, and then recognizing the consequences. And for me, I've recognized, okay, when I procrastinate and I wait till the last minute, how does that negatively impact like my health, if you will, my mental health?
Okay.
It jacks me up. Like I get all stressed out, I'll get irritable, I'll get angry, I'll get mad, then I'll get mad at myself. And then the inner critic jumps in and wants to tear me down too. And so I've learned through the years to try and, again, like what Suzanne will say, is that I try and pull things forward, giving myself plenty of time. I'll give myself, what I would do as an educator with kids. If there's an assignment, there's checkpoints along the line to ensure that you're meeting. I'm not asking you to do everything by this. You have, 2 things you got to get done by here. And I'll do myself that way as well. Hey, let's look at the calendar. Okay, next week, let's try and get this done. Knowing that I have an event or something in a month or 2 months, I'm pulling things forward and I'm chipping away at it.
Yeah.
So that's one way I've attacked it, and I've gotten better at pulling things forward just because I know life happens. Like chainsaw breaks or it rains, and then you're stressed out even more. I've learned that. Here's the other thing, because I've been without.
Sure.
Because I've gone without, I understand. I know that feeling to not have a yard to mow, not to have a home, not to take care of a home. Not even to have. We just talked about this the other day, and it made Suzanne so sad when I didn't have a washing machine. Thanks to Rod for taking it back. So Rod loaned me a washer and dryer. You remember that?
I do. Well, hello, I needed it.
So I couldn't even afford a washing and dryer machine, and Rod graciously loaned his to Braddix and I, and then when he took it back, jerk. No, I understand. I was like, what am I going to do? I ended up taking I guess I could say this on the air. I would take my clothes up to school. And when I was doing like extra after school activities or whatever, I'd wash my clothes. Sorry. I had to do what I had to do. I couldn't afford certain things. So being without, I look at the laundry differently, as in, hey, I've got clothes to wear. I have a washing machine to wash my clothes in. I get to do this. I get to do the yard. I didn't have a lot of things, so it's a different mindset. It's how you approach those things. I take pride in the yard.
Sure.
I'm not trying to win yard of the month. I want it to look good.
Sure.
And it makes me feel good knowing that I've produced something that looks good. Exactly. And so that's kind of my approach towards it. I know I've talked a little bit on it, but that's I guess for me it's about through the lessons and how I view them and how I look at doing those tasks with gratitude. Right. Again, understanding, recognizing the negative consequences.
Sure.
And then viewing those things through an attitude of gratitude.
Well, and that's where, again, they're saying, let's take a look, self-study. So the second thing they're saying, or they're encouraging you to do, is now give yourself a little bit of compassion. To get past the procrastination part, they're saying, you actually got to push yourself. Procrastination is a natural thing. So to go and challenge or overcome procrastination, well, now you have to do something that's counterintuitive. And so it's okay, if you give yourself a little bit of grace, self-compassion, you can give yourself that, that private tongue lashing. All right.
Yeah.
To massage, it's okay. As long as, let's get it done.
Right.
If you recognize that there's a problem and you're working to fix that problem, then forgive yourself. So therefore, okay, acknowledge that putting things off makes you feel bad.
Right.
And that's normal, and it's commonplace. All right. Recognize that you are not the only one that avoids doing stuff.
Right.
Right. Again, it's most of us have it. So if you're looking at why you're not doing it, and then you accept that maybe, okay, let's work on overcoming that. And part of that is, okay, let's take baby steps and let's work on this part. Let's work on, okay, for me, there's a lot of things I don't like to do.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with yard work. And let's work on that, all right? And get more comfortable doing that. Right. And then, home improvement projects. I hate home improvement projects. But I like when they're done.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do it.
Right.
And you can't keep paying people because, I got a buddy of mine that he'll come over for, do stuff, help us out with handyman stuff. It's $100 an hour.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Look at that up.
Well, yeah. Now he's freaking awesome and does a terrific job, so I have no problem.
You're rich. What are you worrying about?
Rich? Oh, please! I'm so poor I can't pay attention.
Jeez.
If it took a quarter to get out of town, I couldn't go to the end of the driveway. I'm not like you that could quit their teaching job. So.
I have a job though.
Well, yeah.
I didn't just quit and I'm not doing anything. You got podcasts all the time.
Nah,
write books, go speak, play golf.
Please.
I do all of those things.
Your bonus is bigger than my monthly salary.
Oh, all right. Get out of Dodge. I'd say get out of town, but apparently you only have 25 cents.
Exactly.
Do you even have 20? No.
Well, no. Actually, I used that quarter to buy you the Diet Coke.
Hey, lo and behold, I don't even need to drink Diet Coke anymore.
All right.
It was such a generous gift, though, for you to come with.
Yeah, well. Anyway, so basically what they're saying is take baby steps to move forward.
Right.
And don't worry about that you can't do, don't do it all at once.
Right.
It took you a while to get there, so it's going to take you a while to get better. But again, work on your self-compassion as you're recognizing why you are engaged in some kind of procrastination, putting stuff off.
Right.
And as you go, okay, well, let's work on this. Let's move forward on that. You will slowly overcome some of these procrastination issues.
Yeah.
So, because again, the goal is to stop doing it.
Well, this ties directly into, I would say, directly into the episode of What Makes a Great Leader about the emotional quotient.
Oh, sure.
In fact, at church we have it's a leadership group, so community members, community leaders, CEOs, and it's called The Table. And so I actually took that over and running that now with the lead pastor, and I used that message, but I went into it a little bit deeper as a belief that, to be a great leader, you have to be, you have to know yourself. You have to know who you are, the emotional quotient. So I think this comes in as understanding who you are, like your self-management is one of those, the part of that emotional intelligent. Okay. So,
sure.
Why do I get mad? Or why do I not want to do X, Y, Z, right? And I love what Harry S. Truman says: if I want to be great, I have to win the victory over myself.
Yeah,
because if you can't figure it out, you're just going to be spinning the wheels, and you're going to continue to procrastinate and procrastinate and procrastinate.
And you're going to expect somebody else to step up and do it for you.
Right.
And if you can't figure it out, why do you assume somebody else can?
Right. My I guess I'll call it encouragement is to figure out why it is there's a barrier, and how you overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know you're unpacking this, but you know, be ready, seize those opportunities and act. Right? If you know, it's self discipline, self management.
Yes.
Right. So, anyways, go on.
No, and that's fine, because that brings us to the third and final. And they say that when you actually step up and you start doing it, it actually creates a chemical change within you. They say that it actually, tasks that are unpleasant, complex, or difficult deplete our dopamine levels. Okay, so that's a negative impact.
Yeah.
But when you start doing these things, all right, and the dopamine kicks back in, and suddenly you get a sense of, accomplishment, that you sense of euphoria.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're saying, look, you can do this.
Right.
You can replace that feeling with something, okay. Because once you actually start doing it and you do get to that completed part, when we're doing the yard, not so much, but when we're all done and we call it a quits after a few hours, you look at what you did, go, you know what, that really does look good. I feel better about myself. I feel better about what we did. We succeeded. We made an accomplishment.
Yeah.
So they're saying that you can actually trick your brain.
The brain is indeed malleable.
So they're saying, let's trick it. All right. And if you can get your brain into these dopamine levels, you can actually have the dopamine hit as you begin, giving you that drive. So they said, first of all, chunk it. If it's a big task, break it into a bunch of smaller parts. All right. You know, you can, whatever it might be, but you can chunk it.
Yeah.
Give yourself time.
No, don't chuck it. Chunk. He's saying chunk, folks. Don't chuck it out the window.
But set a timer. Give yourself, say, you know what, we're going to do this for 2 hours. For me, it might be yard work. Let's do it for 2 hours.
Yeah.
If it's like home improvement project, like we need to move our television from where it is and put it up on the wall. Well, that's going to require me to do something I'm really not experienced to do. So I may have to have your expertise to come over, so that way if I screw it up, at least we screw it up.
Or we hung it crooked. I don't know. Were you talking to me for help? Because
well, hey, if you look at it crooked, I look at it crooked. Maybe we'll get balance between the two crookeds, because you look crooked right, I look crooked left. But basically, put a time limit on it.
Sure.
All right, let's do this as you're chunking it. Well, okay, let's do this piece first, and let's budget this much time.
Yeah.
And so then, as you're chunking it, as you're putting a time frame on it, as you're doing each part, well, then there's a milestone. When we can see that what we're doing has made progress, now you're going, you feel that encouragement. It's kind of like when you're trying to lose weight and you step on the scale once a week and you gradually see, well, I'm a little bit lower and a little bit lower. You know, it's not 20 pounds in a week, but if you've lost, 1 to 2 pounds from last week to this week, that's a good thing.
Right.
And then finally reward yourself. All right. A lot of times the best reward is the completed event. And so there you go. Chunk it, time it. Then, well, it says here milestone it. Sorry, I was trying to come up with some better way to say that. But then finally reward it. Yeah. All right. Make that task rewarding.
Yeah.
And as far as yard work, it does look nice when it's all done. And when I get the TV mounted on the wall, then it will look nice. It'll be a lot better.
Right.
And so that way, because right now Sherry asked me, it's been a week and a half since she said something about it.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's been a week and a half and it still isn't done. Right. And I'm not sure when it'll get done. But we're working on it, all right, because we're going to focus on it. So, again, our 3 steps, they might help you. Again, self-study, self-compassion, and finally, dopamine hacking.
Yeah.
These are what the lady's name is Tania Luna, and these were her 3 ways to beat procrastination that I thought, wow, speak loudly to me.
Yeah, I like that. And yeah, we do some of those things already. But there are some things like the girls' signs for above their bed that have been in their rooms for like a month.
You want some help hanging up?
I don't know.
Or we can just talk about it and do it next time.
We can talk about it and do it next time. Yeah, we'll get to it next week. But, we both acknowledge like we need to do this or we need to do that. And again, anything I say is an excuse, whether anyone believes it's valid or not, with kids, jobs, blah, blah, blah. There's always time.
Sure.
And we just need to make that time. But something that that resonates with me on what you just went through from those 3 points is like the laundry.
Yeah.
And Suzanne, they do not get along. The laundry and Suzanne do not get along. And for me, I am the just GSD, get stuff done. Yeah. And so I even have on my to-do list on big bold on the top says GSD, no excuses, GSD. Like there shouldn't be any reasons why I don't accomplish these things. And so I'm more of the mindset like I've talked about before, but also like just do it. Yeah. Nike isn't successful because they did it off or not so much. They just do it, right? They just do it. Anyways, my point to this story is I'll land the plane soon, I'm sure. She's expressed like it's overwhelming.
Yes.
And as I took a step back and remove myself from it and trying to put myself in her shoes, I look at him like, okay, I can see how that's overwhelming. Not only do you have your laundry, everybody else's.
Yeah.
And that pile keeps growing and growing and growing. And so I was listening on the radio. A mom was talking about how the laundry, it's like her worst nightmare or something. I'm like, okay, so Suzanne isn't alone in this. So that's why sometimes the laundry is put off. I'll do it later or whatever. And to me, it's bothered me and it's irritated me. It's like, why can't you just do it? Why don't you just do it? Right? What's the challenge here? What's the barrier here? So that's why I had to step back. And then that's when you pointed something out. And
I did
in whatever this thing is, one of your 3 points, in the stock market, they call it power hour.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so I'm like, hey, why don't we have a power hour where we, for 1 hour,
put a time limit on it.
We tackle this.
Yes.
And if we don't get done, that's fine, but we have made progress.
Yes.
We're working towards that goal.
Yes.
And just the other day, it didn't even take us an hour.
Okay.
And we're like, let's power out of the kitchen.
Okay.
Let's do blah, blah, and we worked together. We got through the whole kitchen. She had to go get on her next call, and boom, we were done. Kitchen's done.
And how much better did you feel?
1,000 times. And it wasn't just me doing, or it wasn't just her doing. We were doing it together. We tackled it together. With the laundry, it's literally about helping to carry that load. And no pun intended, but like, what can I do to help? If it's overwhelming to you, how can I help you that?
Sure.
So that's also been beneficial. So I see the benefit in, the chunking, the time limit, reaching those milestones, and then celebrating.
Amen.
Right. So
let's celebrate by making a mess.
I thought you were going to say like go get a drink or something.
Well, that works too.
Okay. All right.
That way we can do it on somebody else's dime and they can clean it up.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
But good stuff, man. It's a good reminder for sure.
Absolutely.
It's a good reminder.
Well, that's all I got.
I'm done. No more jokes?
Well, I could, but I'm told that, there are too many dad jokes.
Too many dad jokes?
Yeah.
Oh.
I got to go refill my dad-a-base with more jokes.
On that note, I'm Bryce Runge.
I'm Rod McCall.
Till next time.
Peace.